1500 kilometers from Ahmedabad to Mangalore. Good morning. Louder, we need energy. How do you expect us to spend the whole day with you all if you all are going to be so dead? Good morning, sir. Come on, not done. I didn't expect this from Mangalore. So we need a lot of energy. We need a lot of participation. By participation, Dr. Mashru and I would be happy anytime you raise your hand and ask a question. We don't want to do something which says, I will finish and then you ask me the questions. We don't want to do that. So at any point in time, you can ask us questions, and please ask us questions. Why should you ask us questions is because both of us are practicing logisticians. Both of us work normally just as way Mr. Pujari or Mr. Philip or Mr. Prabhu work in their offices. We work in our offices, and we are traveling like this just for the love and the passion that we have for this industry. And because we understand that it is only your ability to understand what you are doing which will make your job much easier. So please ask us a lot of questions. Before I start, thank you to Mr. Prabhu and Mr. Philip for arranging this. It's very kind of the two of you and your associations to do this. So let us start, and you, my friend, you sit down. You don't go round and round because they are getting disturbed. Okay? I will try and remain within your camera. Okay? No, poor man has to go down, and I'm not going to stand. I'm going to walk up and down. So especially those people at the back, if you are feeling that I'll take a nap or something, it's not going to happen, that way. So let's keep it that way. So what are we going to do with you? I have a few questions. How many exporters over here? People working for exporting companies? Okay. So I assume that all the exporting companies are also doing imports. Do I understand that? Okay. And how many custom brokers staff over here? Custom brokers and their staff? All right, good. And two other questions. How many with more than 10 years of work experience over here? So quite a good number. And how many with less than 1 year's work experience? Less than one experience. Good. Are be bold, yaar. So 1 year, so what? Whenever Mr. Pujari was introducing me and he was doing all those things, I remember telling somebody in the room over there that it is just that I was born early. It is not that I have more experience. I was just born earlier than you all. So it's okay. There was a time when we were also less than 1 year work experience. There is nothing to feel ashamed about it, and nothing to feel proud that yes, I have 45 years work experience. There's nothing like that. So first of all, thank you from Dr. Mashru and myself that you are giving us this opportunity, because for us also it is a learning. We are doing this on a daily basis, our work, but sometimes the questions that come to us are questions which we have never thought of, and that is why we want to thank you. We also want to thank you for taking out this one day with us, giving us this opportunity and also enriching us, because for us also it's a learning experience every time we do this. I'd also like to congratulate each of you for taking out the time and coming here, whether your company forced you to come, whether you came on your own, whether Mr. Philip or Mr. Prabhu were insistent that whatever happens, we have to do 100, I don't know. But the fact that you all are here, you all need to be congratulated, and let's give all of us a round of applause, please. Okay. What are the expectations that we are having from you all? The first expectation would be that We are not going to be together more than 7-8 hours in the whole day. Maybe less, 5 or 6 hours only. So we would really appreciate your giving us your attention for this 5 or 6 hours. I'm sure your mobile phones, your messages, your WhatsApps and everything can wait. You have breaks also at every 2.5 hours. You have enough breaks. So please do that. Second expectation is going to be that you all ask many questions. You must ask questions. And why do you ask questions? There are a few reasons why you should ask questions when you are at a training program like this. First is to acquire knowledge. You're all here to acquire knowledge. I'm here to acquire knowledge. Dr. Mashru is here to acquire knowledge. So that's a constant, continuous learning experience and expectation from all of us. The second would be to eliminate confusion. And that is why you should ask questions. To eliminate confusions. And this industry, export-import, is full of confusions. Like Mr. Pujari said, that if we have a problem, we can phone Mr. Shah and ask him. I think the only difference between me and the other logisticians is that I make an effort to keep everything simple. To keep everything very simple. So if you can keep it very simple, you should not have a problem. Dr. Mashru will explain to you that when we work in customs, we expect customs to give us a solution for everything. And we expect that customs is only harassing us, or we expect that we have to look out of our customs. No, they are just 1/4. They are just 1/4 of the whole thing. I would have appreciated if Dr. Raghavan had spent some time, because customs also needs to know that they are only 1/4 of the whole chain. And that is what Dr. Mashru will explain to you in the afternoon. Very often I have seen when people ask questions, when they start asking questions, they stop in the middle. Because then they realize that, sir, I already had the answer. I didn't realize that I had the answer till I started asking my question. So there are a number of reasons why you should ask questions. So please ask questions. I would request you all to copy this QR code. We have a very vibrant YouTube channel. It's free of cost. We have about 14,000 subscribers. We have around 500 videos over there. Each video is less than 9 minutes. Each video is less than 9 minutes, so you can see the video straight away. And we talk about exports, imports, product marketing, product positioning, custom clearance, air cargo, sea cargo, multimodal transport operations. We talk about all of that. It's a free of cost channel that we have developed. We try to put in about 2 videos every week. So our expectations is that every year we will add at least 100 videos onto the YouTube channel. So the name is JBS Academy. Dr. Mashru has more than 50 or 60 videos over there. So I would request you all to please look at it. Small videos. There are playlists which will make it easy for you all. Right? So first question. What is logistics? Anybody wants to try? What is logistics? Come on, somebody. Ma'am, you are less than 1 year. What is logistics? You came here, right? Why did you come to this industry? Because you wanted a job, or you were not getting a job anywhere, so you came here. So what is logistics according to you?
Movement of goods from one place to another.
Absolutely correct. Always remember this. Logistics is a very... Oh, she doesn't need a round of applause, don't worry. Logistics is a very simple definition, and she put it very correctly for all of us. It is getting the right thing at the right place, at the right time, in the right condition, at the right price to the right consumer. So you can add as many rights as you want. This is an international definition. I will give the presentation to the chamber, they will share it with all of you. So make notes only on things which don't appear on the board. You don't need to really write down what is coming on the screen because this will be available to you. So, but what have we learnt? What does this tell you? It tells you that we are one of the oldest industries in the world. The first time man moved from one cave to another cave and he carried something with himself, that was the beginning of logistics. In the middle we used to use the word supply chain. Before that we used to use material management. Unfortunately every few years the name is being changed again and again, but the correct name remains logistics, and we are grateful for two things. One is that in the last 5-7 years, Government of India has recognized and the Prime Minister continuously uses the word logistics, and one after the other, every state is coming out with a logistic policy. And the pandemic, a very unfortunate period, but the pandemic put the logisticians right in the front. And the whole society is respecting us now because we were the people who ensured that the pandemic was tackled correctly. So we always say, good logistics makes a good society, bad logistics makes a bad society. And when we saw this definition, the word is thing. So even the roads, the bus stops, the way the people are moving, that is all logistics. Everything is logistics. So don't think that logistics is only some cargo. Logistics is you and me also. The way we came, the way I came, Mr. Philip brought me from my hotel to here. That is passenger logistics. That is the way the roads are constructed. That is the way everything is done. So that is what it is. One of the most interesting things about our industry, and we all need to be very proud about it, is that if somebody is very sick, the doctor can say, I did whatever I could do, now please pray. If you have a court case, the lawyer can say, look, I've made a very nice presentation, now let us see what the judge is going to say. Or even in income tax or something, our chartered accountant can say, I have taken all the possible care that had to be taken, I think we should not have a problem now. But we are one industry which cannot say this. We are the only industry in the world which is 100% performance industry. We cannot tell a client, look, I tried everything but your cargo may not reach. We cannot tell a client that you pray to God that your cargo will reach on time. The only thing we can do is, we can say, you might get your cargo 1 day late. You might get your cargo 2 days late. But we must recognize and respect that we are 100% performance industry. We are the only industry, if you think about it very carefully. Schools can make mistakes, colleges can make mistakes, parents can make mistakes, spouses can make mistakes, we cannot make mistakes. And nobody is going to expect or accept our saying halfway through that I am giving up. Whereas we very readily accept when the doctor says that. We readily accept it when the lawyer says that I am giving up now let God decide what he wants to do. We can't do that. And that is what makes me very proud of the fact that I am a logistician. So my suggestion and humble submission to each of you is, please recognize that you all are also 100% performance industry and feel very proud about it. So what is logistics? She gave us a very good definition. I explained to you the detailed definition, but now the question comes up is, how does one look at logistics? So the first thing India did about 6 or 7 years back, at something which is called the Logistics Sector Skill Council is that we said, let us divide Indian logistics into different groups. So India works on 12 groups. This is not international, this is a country thing. A country like the UK works on 27. A country like the US works on 17 or 18, Singapore works on 30, India works on 12. So as the industry will develop, as there will be more society acceptance. See, let me ask you all a question. How many of you all came into export, import, customs, shipping because you wanted to come? Please put up your hand. I am only seeing 2 hands. Either your parents were into it or you came here. But most of us came here because we wanted a job. Somebody offered us a job, so we joined and then we stayed there because we liked it. But our friends, when they were in school, they were clear, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become a chartered accountant. Who of us was clear at 14 or 15 years of age that I want to come into logistics? None of us. We all just came here because we wanted a job and somebody was offering a job to us. After we came here, we understood what the industry was and we liked to stay here, and then we made a career over here. So we must understand that we are important people, but we only don't recognize ourselves. Society does not recognize us. Very few people are there who will say, I want to be a logistician. And that is the real problem with logistics in India today. So what the government did was that they divided logistics into 12 verticals. The first is rail logistics. When you hear the names, I am sure you will all understand it very clearly. The second one is land transportation. The third is air cargo operations. Mangalore has just started air cargo operations. Fourth is ports, terminals, ICDs, CFS operations. That's where most of us are at this point in time. Warehousing, storage and packing. The sixth one is courier and express. Seventh is supply chain. So be very clear in your mind that supply chain is part of logistics. Logistics is not part of supply chain. Supply chain is a very small portion out of that very big basket of logistics. E-commerce, I'm sure most of the people in this room have used e-commerce. You've ordered something on your phone, you've paid online, and it has been delivered to you. Inland waterways and marine services, there's a lot of things happening on the Ganga river, on the Brahmaputra river, and so many other small rivers in India. Then cold chain logistics, there's a lot of fish moving out of here in reefer, which is cold chain. All the ice creams that you eat, all the frozen foods that you pick up from the supermarket is all cold chain logistics. Liquid logistics, that is when you transport liquids, pipelines and all comes under liquid logistics, where again Mangalore is very large as far as the operations are concerned. And the last one is where you and I are. The last vertical is where you and I are working, which is called EXIM logistics, custom clearing and freight forwarding. So all of us here who are in the service portion are in EXIM logistics. So now we hope that after 3 or 4 years, people will not say that I am in logistics, people will say I am in cold chain logistics, they will say I am in EXIM logistics, I am in land transportation. So freight forwarding and custom clearance is what we are all doing, right? So what are the minimum requirements that this industry expects? Whether you are an exporter or an importer, you are part of EXIM logistics. You are part of EXIM logistics. So everyone in this room is part of EXIM logistics. The minimum professional traits we have is honesty. Honesty towards your work, integrity, commitment, consistency, hard work. And what is missing unfortunately presently is curiosity. We are not so curious. Why? Why this? How many of us understand the word export invoice? Please put up your hands. Nobody understands export invoice? How can nobody put up their hands? Okay, how many of you have heard of the word shipping bill? Put up your hand, please put up your hand. Have you ever asked yourself why a shipping bill? If I ask you what is a shipping bill, you will answer me. But why a shipping bill? Why a packing list? Why an invoice? We are not curious enough to ask the question why. And once you start asking the question why, you will find that your job becomes much easier. The moment you will ask why, or for any and everything, you will realize that your life is much easier than what you were expecting. So, like we learned in school, curiosity killed the cat. For this industry and today, it is curiosity skilled the cat. So please start asking the question why. Why is there customs? Why is there examination? Why do I have to send it to plant quarantine? Why do I have to do assessment? Why do I have to pay duty? Please start asking all those questions. To an exporting company, why do I need to do RCMC registration? Why do I need to have a PAN number, TAN number, GST number? Why do I need an IEC number? Please ask simple questions why you need to do something, and you will get most of your answers on your own only. This is something I very strongly believe, that hard work always beats talent. So you may be talented, but if you are not hardworking, you will not be successful. And if you are hardworking, you will always be successful. You might take a bit longer, but you will always be successful. So whatever little talent is there in you, please use it. Please, that's the only thing that will not get over with continuous usage. It is something which will increase with continuous usage. So now we come to what the purpose why Dr. Mashru and I are over here. We are here to spend the day with you all on EXIM logistics. I had a chat with Mr. Philip about what all is to be covered, and we've broken that into 2 sessions. I will be taking you all till 1:30, and after lunch Dr. Mashru will be taking you all on the topics that he has to cover. So, first question. Who wants to? Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Arvind Chaturvedi from JSW, Mangalore Port Terminal. For export cargo, I wanted to know about the pre-carting procedure, how it works, and whether it is expired after some times or after some days, and it is required to declare a vessel before taking the pre-carting permission. All these things I got it.
I think he has started something very interesting, and that is he has asked a question which makes it easy for Dr. Mashru or me to take the program ahead. Anybody else has a specific question like him? I would really appreciate knowing it right now. Anybody else has a specific question like he asked? Nobody? Don't feel ashamed, don't feel scared, don't feel that people will laugh at you for asking a question. If they want to laugh, it is their loss, it is not your loss. Anybody, any other question? Okay, you have to remember one thing, sir, that there is something like stakeholders in the entire chain. There are stakeholders in the entire chain. What did I tell you? That customs is a small portion of the whole chain, but we make a very large portion of the whole thing. That is what we are doing without realizing it. Now you use the word pre-carting. Customs says you cannot cart if a shipping bill is not filed. So unless a shipping bill number is generated in the ice gate, you cannot bring in the cargo. Customs doesn't do anything else. All the other thing, carting order, when I can bring in, what is validity of carting order would be either the job of the terminal or the shipping line. So when you use the word carting, what is the meaning of the word carting? Bringing in export cargo into the custom facility is what we call carting. So custom says to bring it inside, file a shipping bill. Then all the other processes are terminal driven or shipping line driven. Shipping line driven because he wants to ensure that he has enough cargo on a particular date for his vessel. So if you have blocked the space and you are not utilizing it in 2 or 3 or 4 days, he is going to say, I am not giving you this space. Terminal operator is also doing the same thing because he has a fixed space in his facility where he has to manage cargoes not only of JSW but of other people also, so he will put his conditions. So this is the broad answer I am giving you for you to understand. We will take up your question specifically when we come to that portion. Okay? So anybody, what is customs? Come on, somebody answer. Yes sir, I'll get you the mic.
It's the agency which monitors the exempt policy and government regulations towards exports.
Okay, anybody else? Anyone else wants to, he is not wrong. He is not wrong, but anybody else wants to try? What is customs? Come on yaar. Don't let me go back to Ahmedabad and say that Mangalore was a dead audience. Sir, anybody else? Ma'am? Anyone?
Tax for importing or exporting.
So somebody said it is an agency which controls and collects, and you said that customs is only a tax. Okay, anyone else as to what is customs? What he said was it checks whether there are any prohibited items or not. That is what he said. Can somebody give me a very simple answer as to what is customs? A very simple answer. Revenue collection. There is a very simple answer to customs. All the answers that you all are giving, who wanted to ask? Somebody said, can I? Who said?
Something like a scanner.
Something like a scanner. Why is our answers of everybody only related to cargo? We all have seen those people in white clothes at the airport where the passengers are coming in and they are standing over there. We have all seen that, right? Yeah, so why are we confining ourselves only to cargo? Can somebody give me a very simple answer as to what is customs? The most simplest answer as to what is customs is that it's just a barrier. And it's a barrier which you have to cross. It's only a barrier. Everywhere customs is a barrier. He says, ye karo, then only I'll let you do it. Right? Whether you are a passenger, you are a cargo, you are a custom broker, you are a shipping line, you are a custodian, everywhere he is only a barrier. And he comes and he stands in the middle and he said, deal with me, then I'll let you go. Or he comes and stands and says, deal with me, then I'll let you go out of the country. So look at customs only as a barrier, a simple barrier. And the process and the process of crossing the barrier is called custom clearance. The process of crossing the barrier is called custom clearance. We also always talk, no? Even if your courier is coming, customs ho gaya kya? Cargo is coming, customs ne maal chhod diya kya? Clear ho gaya, out of charge is done, let export is done. That is the question we are asking. So that then the process of crossing the barrier is called custom clearance. What are the steps that you need to take to cross that barrier is what Dr. Mashru will do with you in the afternoon. How do you cross that barrier? It's a very simple method of crossing the barrier, and revenue, tax collection and all are a very minuscule portion of custom clearance. But what is our impression of customs? Let us be very honest over here. Our impression of customs is that is very officer driven. Whoever is sitting over there, if he is a nice fellow, we'll say he's a very nice man, he doesn't harass us. If he is nasty, we will only say that he wants money, he is harassing us. If we give him money, he lets us go. That is what we are all talking about all the time. So for us, customs is very individual driven as to whoever is sitting over there. Even when Mr. Philip or Mr. Pujari talk about the commissioner, they will say very cooperative commissioner, or they will say very difficult commissioner. So everywhere for us, customs has become individual driven. So we don't really understand what is customs in the large picture. It's like the Indian railways. I am sure most of us have travelled by train, and what has been our impression? Earlier our impression was dirty railway stations, corrupt TC officers, corrupt ticket collectors. That was our impression of Indian railways. Am I right? Anybody had a different impression? No. Everybody had this impression. But do we otherwise realize India is the second largest rail network in the world? India has the least number of rail accidents in the world. India has a 94% punctuality of its trains. So Indian Railways was something much bigger than dirty railway stations, dirty trains and corrupt ticket collectors. This is what we must understand, that if the Indian Railways was dirty railway stations, corrupt ticket collectors, then it would not be the second largest rail network in the world with the least amount of accidents and a near 94% punctuality. 94% of the trains in India are on time, and that is a very good. We are in the top 3 in the world. We are in the top 3 in the world. So if anybody is feeling Europe is very nice, America is very nice, no. They are behind us as far as rail is concerned. As far as rail is concerned, they come behind India. So similarly, when you talk about customs, you must understand that it's a barrier, but this barrier has so many things inside it. First comes the institution of customs. It's like a sovereign function. I'm standing here, you ask me, I'll let you go inside. I don't say yes, you can't go into my country. I'm standing over there, you ask me, if I say yes, you can leave the country. If I say no, you cannot leave the country. So it's something like what a king does. So it's a sovereign function. And what you will notice is that there are approximately 201 political countries in the world. Many of the countries don't have armies, militaries, they don't have finance ministers, defense ministers, but everyone has a customs. Every country in the world has a customs department, because that is the only way that a country can say, I am sovereign. You want to come inside? Ask me. You want to go outside? Ask me. So it's a very important institution, and we should be able to look at that institution beyond the individual with whom we deal on a daily basis. That is what we need to do. And it controls what? Goods, conveyances and people. So that means it covers everything. If you feel that customs does not cover people, you are making a mistake. If you feel that customs does not cover the aircraft or the ship, again you are wrong. So anything that can cross the border, Indian customs controls it. So goods, conveyances and people are controlled by Indian customs in and out. They have 8 very important functions. They have 8 very important functions, and we all spoke about revenue collection. And 1 or 2 of you spoke about prohibited items and things like that. It's interesting for you all to note that the definition of export is different in GST, is different in drawback, is different in DGFT, is different in customs. Similarly, when you use the word import, you will find that the definition is very different. So when he used the word prohibited, the definition of prohibited goods in customs is different, and the definition of prohibited goods in the DGFT is different. They are very different definitions. So what you said covered only part of it. So one is revenue collection, that is collecting custom duties. Second is enforcement. What is enforcement? To ensure that the law of the land is followed. To ensure that the law of the land is followed. Then implementing trade agreements. We are talking about free trade agreements, preferential trade agreements and all of that. They implement that. The fact that you and I are sitting here and doing this program with a peace of mind is called community protection, and Indian customs is involved in community protection. Indian customs got involved in community protection after the Taj and the Oberoi incident which happened. Till the Taj and the Oberoi incident happened, customs was not part of community protection. If you read, anybody has followed it up. No custom officer ever got implicated for the Taj and the Oberoi attacks, because at that time the people who did it did not land at a custom station. If they had landed at a custom station, the custom officer would have been held responsible, but they did not land at a custom station. So after that incident, customs started taking up community protection on themselves. Trade policy, what can be exported, when can it be exported, to which countries, that is trade policy. Auditing, we all understand audit. Auditing is another function of Indian customs. The next one is trade statistics, how much export India has done, to which countries, which commodity, all that data. Customs is the only agency which has all that data, and customs has 100% accurate data. And lastly, national security and border protection. So this is the role of a customs administration. So we should look at customs with a different respect, and if we meet a difficult officer, we should learn to tell him, stay in your limits. You can't be doing this. Please don't feel that I am talking out of my head. I have, as I mentioned to you all, I am working as I passed my exam in 1983. So, and I handle about 1500 consignments in Indian customs every month. So that's about 50 a day, 50 to 60 a day we do. And we have hardly 1% of our cases which come on my table. So if you recognize that this is Indian customs, and then you work in that manner, you will have the minimal problems. So there is a Customs Act. If you all have not seen it, please, it's available on the net. Go to cbic.gov.in, which is the website of Indian Customs. CBIC, any and everything in India, be very clear, any and everything in India is written down. Everywhere, everything is written down. There is no action that a plant quarantine officer, a port health officer, a customs officer, a DGFT officer can take which is not written down. It's your job as a good exporter, importer, custom broker, shipping line, airline to know where I will get my answer. There is nobody, even the President of India in India today does not have absolute authority. It is all written down how much authority she has and how she can exercise it. So the Customs Act becomes a very important document. It's a very simple document, cpic.gov.in, and it is written in very simple English. So this is one book you should be familiar with. Whenever you are working in Indian Customs, these are a few items which you must always remember. Of course, the why remains, but a few other items which you must remember. One is under what section of the Customs Act it is happening. Second is who is the proper officer. See, for us, superintendent or appraiser or inspector or examiner, we always feel, sir, will you do this for me? But no, is he the proper officer? What is the meaning of the word proper officer? When we all were in school, we were 11, 14 years old, we came home and we told our mother that tomorrow is my friend's birthday, I want to go for the birthday party. If our mother said yes, then she was the proper officer for it. But if she said that in the evening you ask your father when he comes back from work, then for that activity our father became the proper officer. If the father said that, look, we are living in a joint family, you ask my elder brother or you ask grandfather, then that person became the proper officer. So similarly in Indian customs, it's very clear who can do what. Like we had the deputy commissioner over here today, but he cannot do everything in Indian customs. Even if the commissioner herself, she had come, she cannot do everything in Indian customs. So every section of the Customs Act tells you who will do it. So it's, once you can understand that, then you will not waste your time with officers who are not proper officers. So that is what you must understand always. The next is time limits. There is a time limit in Indian customs for practically everything. So no appraiser, no superintendent, no deputy commissioner can keep the papers pending. There is a time limit. It's written down somewhere, and within that time limit, he has to do it. And if he does not do it, it is your job to go and complain against him. Okay, he is not doing it. So remember this, Indian customs is very clear on section, proper officer, time limit, value limit. There is a value limit for every officer. And even the DC who came here, I think his limit is only 10 lakhs of rupees. Any case above 10 lakhs of rupees, he cannot handle it. So you must understand these portions. Then there is definitions. I just explained to you that the same word is defined differently in different statutes. So there is definitions is very clear. You must understand. What I wanted to draw Mr. Phillips and Mr. Prabhu's attention and all the attention of all of you, that India does not have CHAs. There is nobody who is a custom house agent in India. We are all using the word CHA. Mr. Pujari also used the word, but right from 2014, there is no custom house agent in India. The word in India after 2014 is customs broker. So we are all custom brokers. We are not custom house agents.
Broker word is not using a good. That's why.
One minute.
You don't know the broker.
Sir, that is an interpretation of the English language. That is the broker a good word or a bad word? You want to buy a nice property, then the word broker sounds nice. You want to find a nice girl for your son, the word broker is good. But you want to do something bad, the word broker is bad. So it's all the way the English language is understood. But in every country in the world, the word is customs broker. And why is the word customs broker? Because the word agent has a different meaning, has a different liability. There is a principle of liability and agent. That is the basic principle on which India works. That the liability of principal and agent. And the custom house agent was never that agent. And that is why in 2014, India joined the rest of the world and changed the word, and now we are custom brokers. So definitions is very important. Section 2 of the Customs Act gives you lots of definitions, and if you all have the time, please take out the time and read all those definitions. You will be surprised when you read the definitions that, oh, it is like this. The next one is there will always be conditions attached. In any work you do in Indian customs, there will always be conditions attached, and you should know how to find out the conditions attached. The single point of reference from where you can get all the information is the correct CTH, Customs Tariff Heading, the GST heading, or internationally as it is known as the HSN. So your first job as a good exporter, importer, customs broker is to find the correct heading. The moment you find the heading, all the rest will fall in place very simply. But you can't say, sir, it might be 2902 or 2904. No, it can't be that, because 02 may have different conditions, 04 may have different conditions. You have to say specifically where you are. And if you are an exporter, it is assumed world over that you know the classification the best, because it is your product. If you are the importer, it is to be assumed that you know the classification correctly, because it is your product. And that is why self-assessment says every time that the custom broker should send the checklist to the exporter or the importer for confirmation, and after confirmation comes, he should file the document. Sir, you want to ask something? Give him a mic, please. Oh, hello. I will hear you, they will not hear you. Yeah. I will hear you, my friend, but I want everyone to hear you. Yeah.
After working the vessel, if bill of entry is not clear, we can discharge cargo. And if we can discharge cargo, how many months or days I can keep without filing the bill of entry?
You asked me two different questions in asking the same question. Please sit down, sir. Please sit down. You asked me two questions. The first one question is, what is the time limit for filing a bill of entry in India? That was one question. India does not have a time limit for filing a bill of entry. What India has is that you are supposed to file a bill of entry one day before your goods come to the relevant customs station, and if you don't file it, then there is a late filing fee of 5,000 rupees per day and then 10,000 rupees per day with a maximum of the duty amount. So there is no time limit as such. You can file even after 2 years, but you will have to pay the same duty amount as late filing fees. So that is as far as filing of the bill of entry is concerned. Then comes the question of discharging the goods from the ship. Importer has no role to play in discharging goods from a ship. It is the carrier who does it. So when you will see the Customs Act, the chapter on conveyances, it is written very clearly that a shipping line cannot bring in the vessel without filing a manifest. And the shipping line cannot discharge cargo unless the preventive officer says yes. I'm confusing you or I'm answering you? So from your perspective as an importer, there is only late filing fees for filing a bill of entry late. There are no time limits. The rest of your question is for the carrier. Carrier is supposed to file and give an intimation that I'm coming in. He is supposed to file a manifest. Customs has to accept the manifest. He has to go to unloading station. At unloading station, he has to take permission from the preventive officer. Can I start unloading? All that has no relation with the bill of entry. all these processes have no relation with the bill of entry. Because bill of entry is an importer's document, IGM and discharging carrier's document. So you need to be very clear, sir, that who am I? I am a carrier, then these principles apply to me. I am an importer, then these principles apply to me. Right?
Regarding faceless, bill of entry filing, what happens now? The big import bill is sitting, bill of entry is there. Even otherwise, it goes to where it goes, nobody knows. Sometimes it goes to Bombay or some other place. The proper officer who is supposed to approve this, he is on one day leave, next is Friday holiday, Saturday gone, Sunday gone. So 4 or 5 days you have to wait. And we have brought the cargo, we have to unload, and you have to give the cargo to the consignee. And or maybe users, farmers or somebody else. But 4, 5, 6 days is wasted in this, and double cost. You unload and keep in the port, again reload and send it. And it's a huge cost. Who is responsible for this?
Yeah, so see, we are, if we all heard Dr. Raghavan kept on using the word facilitation, and then he kept on saying that we want to do this. But what is the meaning of the word facilitation? We must understand a few things which Dr. Raghavan did not tell all of us. One is, in India, there is criminal law and there is civil law. They are two parallel pillars. Customs comes under criminal law. And because it comes under criminal law, we have permission, we have prohibition, we have satisfaction of the officer, we have all of that happening. So we are under criminal law. He is an administrator of criminal law. What we fail to understand is that how can an administrator of criminal law say, I will make it easy for you? So we are actually somewhere in a place where the department and us are not in a position to really understand each other. When a criminal regulator says, I will facilitate, what he is trying to say is that I will be transparent. I will tell you what I am going to do. I will put everything out in the public domain for you in advance. That is what he is trying to say. Now in doing that, they brought in faceless. Faceless is nothing new. There are more than 40-50 countries in the world where faceless is working. Okay, so India is not doing anything different or new. Faceless is all over the world. This problem is what they had never anticipated. They had not, when they designed the whole thing, they had not anticipated. So the Federation is working very hard at this point in time that, sir, you must ensure your system which says that when I filed my bill of entry and my bill of entry was assigned to Mr. Pujari and Mr. Pujari has not come for 2 hours, my bill of entry should automatically go to Mr. Philip. Right? So that work is happening, but I think it will still take a year for them to configure it in that manner. So coming back here, you must remember a few of these things. Public notice, etc. You must remember them once, and for it, it's very easy for you to remember all these things if you know your HSN. I have not come across a custom broker in India, an average custom broker. There are about 6,500 original licenses in India and about 12,000 custom broking firms all over the country. Out of 12,000, I think 11,900 don't work in more than 7 or 8 HSNs. There are very few. Look at your own office also. Go back to your office and check how many HSNs are you dealing in. Even exporters deal in 2 or 3, 4 HSNs. Nobody deals in 30 HSNs or 25 HSNs. That's a very small bracket. So whatever is your CTH or your GST number, you have to know everything about it. You cannot say that I didn't know any of this for my chapter or for my heading. Once you know that, it will become very easy for you. So very important concept of proper officer, I explained to you, be very clear that I am going for this to so and so designation. Is he the proper officer? He is not the proper officer. Don't bother about him. Don't bother about him. Go straight to the person who is the correct proper officer. And it's written very clearly in the Customs Act as to who is the proper officer. Second is dutiable. This is another mistake everybody makes in India. Every item coming into India is dutiable. Every item going out of India is dutiable. Irrespective of whether it is government, Star Export, trading house or whatever, every item coming into India is dutiable, every item going out of India is dutiable. But we also have the concept of zero rate of duty. We also have the concept of exempted. So what you are seeing on export cycle, that there are only 40-50 CTHs which attract custom duty, is because all the rest have been presently put in exempted or zero. But they are all dutiable. So at any point in time, government can bring in anything and change it. So be clear in your mind. So you cannot say, okay sir, zero rate of duty was there, so valuation is not important. You cannot say zero rate of duty, so classification was not important. Classification valuation remains important irrespective of whether the duty is 700% or the duty is nil. So remember that there is always a dutiable, and then comes this particular word. Definitions are of two types. One is a definition which binds you and you have to stay only within that, and one is a wide open definition. In India, smuggling is a wide open definition, and I can assure you all the custom brokers in this room, including Dr. Mashru and myself, we have done smuggling. Everyone, whether it is Mr. Pujari, whether it is Philip sir, Darshan sir, myself, all of us have done smuggling. Why am I saying that? Because what is the simple definition of smuggling? The simple definition of smuggling is when you do something which is not as per law. When you do something which is not as per the law on import or export is smuggling. So often we go to the officer and say, sir, marks and numbers are not tallying, let it go, no. Sir, one parcel has come less, please let it go. Sir, 2 kilos, 10, 20 kilos more, let it go. Every time we do that and the officer says take it, but we have still not followed the law. And that is why I said that every exporter, importer, custom broker in India has at some point of time or other in his career gone into this. But why do I put this slide here? Because I want you all to go back and read section 11 or section 113 of the Customs Act, and if you read section 111, sir, you will get all your answers on import cycle, and if you read 113, you will get all the answers on your export cycle as to what is to be done. Just remember section 111 and section 113 of the Customs Act. If you can understand those two sections, you've understood the Customs Act perfectly. So that's why I put this over here. Then stakeholder. Who is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is a person with an interest or concern in it. There are so many stakeholders, right? In addition to this, you can have buyers and sellers. They are the main stakeholders, and it is because of these two stakeholders that you and I are here. If there were no exporters and importers, there would be no exempt trade. And if there was no exempt trade, there would be no custom brokers, no shipping lines, no terminals, no DGFT consultants, nobody. So they are the main stakeholders. Second comes the regulatory. Regulatory is somebody who can say, follow the law. These are my regulations and you have to follow, and Dr. Mashru will talk on them in detail. And then come all of us. Whether it's a chamber of commerce, it's a transporter, it's a custom broker, shipping line, palletization, testing laboratory, whatever we are the last stakeholders, and we are called the intermediary stakeholders. So remember that this entire exempt trade works on exporters and importers. We are very important people, but they are the reason why we are there. And the regulators are the people who design the regulations for us. So these are your 4. Remember one thing, one word we all like to use, and that is party. There is no word like party in exim logistics. We all say my party, my party. We always talk like that, my party, my party. Please don't use that. Say my shipper, my consignee, my client. Use those words, but don't use the word party, because that is not there. These of course are all the same people, and the regulators which Dr. Mashru will talk about. Then we must remember INCOTERMS. Anybody can help me? What is INCOTERMS? Somebody? Terms of shipment. Very nice, very good answer. International International transaction between buyer and seller, correct? What else? Anybody else? Any other answer? That is the full form of INCOTERMS. My question was, what is INCOTERMS? Not explained to me. Anybody on this side? What is INCOTERMS? He is giving a better answer than I can give. Sir?
INCOTERMS defines the roles and responsibilities between the buyer and the seller at various stages of the goods which are being transported.
How many custom brokers here? Put up your hands again. Custom brokers. Sir, what would you do with INCOTERMS? Sir, you, Mr. Khona, what would you do with INCOTERMS? How do they affect you, or they don't affect you at all?
Knowing how to classify it. By seeing the documents, knowing in what terms the goods have been transported.
So, but how does it affect you?
No idea.
No idea. How does it affect you? Sir, how does it affect you? How does the INCOTERM affect the custom broker? Here in the front. Oh, sir. Purple. How does the INCOTERM affect the customs broker?
I don't think it will affect custom broker, because when we file, we will see the delivery terms, then we will file on that. So I don't think it may...
So, okay, now let me ask you a question differently. How do you file the document? How do you file a bill of entry vis-a-vis INCOTERMS, or how do you file a shipping bill vis-a-vis INCOTERMS?
As per the contract.
No. 1 minute, all of you understand this portion very clearly. Section 14 of the Customs Act talks about valuation. Then under the valuation, you have the valuation rules of imported goods and export goods, right? The valuation rules in India say on import cycle, bill of entry value will be CIF. And on export cycle, shipping bill value will be FOB. So it is your job as a custom broker to understand the INCOTERM, and from that take out CIF to prepare a bill of entry, or from that take out FOB to prepare a shipping bill. So INCOTERMS have to be understood by custom brokers. You cannot say that it is not my job. Yes, it is not your job, but you are representing either the buyer or the seller, and your job is to file a custom document on only CIF or only FOB. So if you don't understand INCOTERMS, you will not be able to file the bill of entry as it is required, or the shipping bill as it is required. Yes, sir?
Sir, if it is, you are saying FOB, okay, but if it is FOR, what it is FOR?
Valuation rules use the word FOB. What, 1 minute, I'm coming to you. What is FOR? Free on rail or free on road, right? But we are on an international transaction. When we are talking export-import, we are on an international transaction. So is your rail or road at the border of the country? It is not at the border of the country. At the border of the country is only FOB. Whether it is by air or it is by sea, it is FOB. So even if your contract is FOR, there is a place written over there. See, all Incoterms are mandatorily supposed to have a place written after it. So I am not doing CIF. I am doing CIF Navasheva. I am doing CIF Dubai. I am doing CIF New York. I am doing FOB Chennai Port. I am doing DDP Switzerland Inland. You understand? So when you are using the word FOR, your custom broker has to add the transportation cost and the cost of the port to put it on board. So export cycle is only FOB. Is it clear, sir? So, and always remember, Incoterms will always have a place attached to it. Interesting question for all of you. Sir, madam, what is imported goods? Sir, Mike. Madam, what is imported goods? What is imported goods?
Important goods.
Imported goods. What is the meaning of imported goods? I walk onto the road over here and I see a shop, imported goods shop. I am sure Mangalore has 1 or 2 imported goods shops where imported goods are sold. Yes? Every city has? Yeah. So what is the meaning of the word imported goods?
Brought from other countries.
Brought from other country. That is what she is saying. Okay? That is not what the Custom Act is saying. No, Custom Act is saying imported goods are goods which have been brought from another country and not cleared from customs. And not cleared from customs. Because the moment they are cleared from customs, they become Indian goods of foreign origin. So all the people in this room, because we are working in EXIM logistics, we must understand that in India, the word import is rarely used. In Indian customs, the word imported is used. And imported is only those goods on which out of charge is not given. The minute out of charge is given, they become Indian goods of foreign origin. Because you are applying GST, you are applying PGAs, you are applying DGFT, you are applying custom duty. So you made them into Indian goods, but their origin still remains foreign. Similarly, export goods. In India, we don't use the word exported, we use the word export. And export goods are only those goods which have been carted and Leo not received. Let export not received. That is the definition in the Customs Act. So it is not, it's very simple if you remember it in this fashion. So Incoterms are basically exactly what our friend said over here. They are seller terms. You don't buy FOB. He sells FOB. Understand this portion. Sit down, no, please. Sir, sit down. Sit down, sit down, sit down. Sit down. You don't buy FOB, he sells FOB. So Incoterms are always seller terms. That is the first thing you must remember. And Incoterms only denote where the cost and responsibility of seller gets over and where the cost and responsibility of the buyer starts. So if you are a freight forwarder, you have to understand the Incoterms because you might be representing seller or you might be representing buyer. So you should know when does the cost of my client start, when does the responsibility of my client start. So Incoterms are very simple. They are seller terms, they are not buyer terms, they are seller terms, and they define cost and responsibility of the seller and the buyer. For custom brokers, the job is how do I convert the Incoterms into valuation for Indian customs, and valuation for Indian customs is CIF on import cycle and FOB on export cycle. We have a few friends over here who have been working for many years. Before 2017, in India, import was CIF plus 1%. But after 17, it has become only CIF. So it is CIF plus on import cycle and FOB on export cycle. There are 11 INCOTERMS today. INCOTERMS is a private initiative. It does not have any government sanction. So you cannot take somebody to a court of law that on INCOTERMS, but you can take the same person to a court of law on breach of contract. That sir, he contracted with me to do this, but he has not done it. But you can't take him to a court of law to say, sir, he said FOB and he is not doing it, because FOB, CIF, whatever it is not a legal document, it's a private initiative of exporters and importers. If you read this, we use the word International Chamber of Commerce. What is International Chamber of Commerce? You have the Canara Chamber of Commerce, which has an operation in this district. They might be part of an association or a chamber which has Karnataka jurisdiction. They are part of an organization which has a national jurisdiction. So that national organization in more than 130 countries together have formed the International Chamber of Commerce, and International Chamber of Commerce, to make it easy for people, have come out with INCOTERMS. There are 11 INCOTERMS, and your job is to understand in which INCOTERM you are working and how do you translate that into a value for customs, or how do you work on it if you are a freight forwarder. Like sir asked me a question, FOR, and I said no, FOB. So then FOB actually includes custom clearance, includes port dues, includes loading expenses, because to take it on board, I have to finish all this. If I don't finish all of this, I am not taking it on board. And customs will charge you on misdeclaration if you declare something wrong. Remember one thing, in India, customs works on the word declaration. Anything that you say is taken by them as correct. So if you have said something and it is not correct, then you are responsible because you deliberately said something wrong. So misdeclaration in India is a very big offense for which we all must understand and appreciate, that we can't take that chance at all, right? So please understand that. So this is INCOTERMS for you, INCOTERMS and accessible value. These are the INCOTERMS. There are 11 of them broken into two groups, 4 and 7. 4 is when it is water transportation only, and 7 is when it is air multimodal, because India also, if you look at India, India also exports by road, India exports by rail. So that is what it is. Then this we already spoke about, which I can skip because I spoke about each of this for you all. These are the 4 on C, FAS, FOB, CFR and CIF. If you notice, in air cargo there is nothing like CIF. In air cargo there is nothing like FOB, because this is for water transport only, and in air FOB becomes FCA and CIF becomes CIP. So anytime you read these words also in a document, because many countries, if their export is from an inland destination, they cannot use CIF Mangalore. They have to use CIP Mangalore, and there is always a city or a location to be attached after the INCOTERM, right? So then let us understand air cargo, sea cargo and multiple. This is done more from the point of view that you must understand that there are various ways of transportation, and there is not only sea cargo which is happening out of Mangalore. Air cargo will now start and hopefully it will grow. But till now, if there are any questions, I will be very happy to take them Anybody, any questions till now? Yes, sir? You want to ask a question? Mike, please.
Hello, sir. At the Chamber of Commerce, I'm a secretary of this Chamber of Commerce. So at the Chamber of Commerce, we get questions pertaining to, we have many free trade agreements. Our country have FTAs with different countries. So on certain products you have duty exemption, on certain product you have a discounted duty, I don't know the exact term, but lesser duty and all that. Is there a platform where you can identify, at least for a particular HSN, what is the duty and that needs to be paid from a particular country? A one-point solution from any of the country, any of the globe, where you can just type the HSN and check what is the current FTAs with any particular country or so on, even if it is a private body or something like that. Thank you.
Dr. Mashru will show you that in the afternoon. There is a very clear way in which you can find out. But having brought up this topic, let us understand what is a free trade agreement or what is a preferential trade agreement. Just as when I explained to you all imported, and I said that after custom clearance it is not imported goods, it is Indian goods of foreign origin. Then I also told you all that every item coming into the country is dutiable. Now what the government does is that they enter into preferential trade agreements with either a region like the EU or the GCC or the ASEAN, or they will enter into with individual countries. They will enter into an agreement. And what that agreement will say is that these CTHs coming from your country, I will charge lower rate of duty. Lower is, the word is preferential. So it can be even 0, but I will charge you lower rate of duty. But I will charge lower rate of duty on what? Not goods coming from your country, but on goods of your country's origin. Like this was Indian goods of foreign origin. So when somebody imports those goods into India and then he says I am going to export it from India to a preferential country, he will not get the benefit because these goods are not of Indian origin. So whenever India enters into a preferential trade agreement with any country, origin of that country is very important. And what is origin? Every trade agreement will define what is origin. So there is no standard this thing on origin. Every trade agreement defines origin. But the standard rule is that at least 33% value addition has to have been done in a country for it to be eligible to be called country of origin. So if supposing India is having a preferential agreement with, let us say, Cambodia, for the sake of pure argument, and somebody in Cambodia says let me import goods from China and export them to India from Cambodia, so I will get lower rate of duty in India. So what India will say, I will give you lower rate of duty, but you import it from China at 100 rupees and export it to me at 134 rupees. So that is the value addition that you have to do. So whenever you look at a trade agreement, you have to always see what is the rules of origin mentioned in that particular trade agreement, and they would be different. Then you have a concept of manufactured in a country, you have a concept of produced in a country, you have a concept of origin of a country. So the preferential trade agreement is basically given so that you can increase your imports from that country of that CTH, but it has to be CTH of that country only. And in response, India gets certain CTHs to export to that country, which will get preferential import duty in that country. But how to find it out? There are 3-4 websites which Dr. Mashru will show all of you all in the afternoon, right? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Mike, please. Sir, sit down.
My name is Arun Bandari. My question is, now when I looking for the buyer asks for the CF price. So when I ask, going to get the CF price, it takes time, because first of all I see the supplier at what price he'll give. Then supplier will say you call the customer broker and take the CF price from him. So there will be a time delay. Is there any like website so that I can go and check and I can give the price to the buyer immediately, so that deal can take place?
There are different answers to your question. First is, as an exporter, which should be the most preferred Incoterm for you? That is my question to you. According to you, which would be the most preferred Incoterm for an exporter? X works. X works is your most preferred Incoterm, because you know your cost. You have to just give it at your gate and it's over. So you are not concerned with petrol price variation, toll tax, custom clearance, freight negotiations. You are not concerned with any of it. So your preferred one is always going to be X works. And what is going to be his preferred one? No, his preferred one is always going to be duty paid in my warehouse. For the buyer, the preferred Incoterm is duty paid in my warehouse. So then all the risk of transportation, petrol variation, war, everything is on the seller. So it's always a challenge between the seller and the buyer as to which Incoterm to take. Your first option should be to try for FOB. If you are a new exporter, your first preference should be to try for FOB. If that is not going to happen, then you should settle for CIF, but you should not go beyond CIF unless that maturity is there in your organization and in your system, that you will be able to manage custom clearance and transportation duty payment in a foreign country. So this is what you have to understand. Now comes freight itself. Whether I am doing by air or I am doing by sea, freight is very dynamic. That is, freight keeps on changing all the time. Now that is your risk. That is your risk. Today freight rates are following, but during the pandemic the freight rates went 20 times. The freight rates went 20 times of what was normal, and today we are minus in certain places. You understand? So freight is very dynamic. All the shipping lines will give you their freight rates on their websites. All the airlines will give you their freight rates on the websites. There are large number of private portals who will give you a freight rate. But so you can use that as a thumb rule to quote. But when you want to actually do the shipment, whatever is going to apply in that week will apply to you. So if you just want to bypass the freight forwarder for quoting purposes, you go on to any shipping line's website, you will get the quote. So then it is your job to understand, oh, I am talking Singapore, which shipping companies will go from Mangalore to Singapore, and then you have to go to every shipping company's website and find out the rates. Whereas if you go to a freight forwarder, he knows by heart which shipping lines are going to Singapore, and he can give you a quote in a much easier manner, but you can do it. It's very transparent. Just as customs is transparent, they tell you in advance how much they are going to check, what documents they want, what papers they want from you. It's very transparent now. So do I answer your question? Yeah. Anybody else, any questions?
What is the time limit for the shipping line to file an IGM before berthing into the port?
Before arrival.
Before arrival, yeah.
Before arrival. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Okay. So we understand logistics. Now freight forwarder. We must understand this definition very carefully. This is an international definition of Who is a freight forwarder? A custom broker is a freight forwarder. A transporter is a freight forwarder. Somebody doing booking with the shipping company is a freight forwarder. Somebody who's only a consultant is also a freight forwarder. So this is an official definition of freight forwarder. There are two meanings of the word freight. One meaning of the word freight. Please don't murmur so much inside, please. One meaning of the word freight is the amount you are going to pay for the transportation. And the other meaning of the word freight is cargo. So there are two meanings of the word freight. Forward is to push forward. To forward something is to push something in front. Forwarder is the person who pushes it in front. So that anybody who is involved in movement of cargo is a freight forwarder. Involved in movement of cargo is a freight forwarder. This is an international definition. Carriage, consolidation, storage, handling, packing, distribution, customs, declaring for other purposes, PGAs, certificate of origin, etc., insurance, payments relating to goods, all of this, ancillary advisory services, modern information technology, communicating technology, all of this, whoever is doing any of this is a freight forwarder. In India, a custom broker is given a special status because he has passed an exam and he is a statutory person. In India, a custom broker, we are the only agency in the whole country where the government gives us a license to work on their behalf. Everywhere the government gives you a license to work with them. But here we are given a license to work on their behalf with other people. So this is the definition of a freight forwarder. It's a very wide definition and anybody involved in any of this is a freight forwarder. The logistic definition you must understand very clearly. You may be a very small company, you may be a very large company. All of us are in logistics. Even that rickshaw driver is in logistics. Blue Dart owning aeroplanes is in logistics. Maersk Line, MSC, the world's largest shipping companies are also in logistics. So you can be a small, micro, medium, large or very large. So all of us are in logistics. Another very important thing is logistics is very simple, but it is not easy. That is what you must understand. It's very simple and it is your job to be able to design it in your mind to keep it simple. Talk in small sentences. If you can finish it in 5 words, try and finish it in 4.5 words. Keep it as simple as possible because logistics is simple. We complicate it. Like when sir was asking from JSW, he was asking questions. What did I tell him? That your questions are for 3-4 agencies at the same time. Customs looks at it like this, shipping line looks at it like this, terminal looks at it like this. But he is correct in asking that question because he is an importer and he has to work with all the 3 at the same time. So he is finding it painful to work with 3 different people who have different requirements. So he is getting mixed up in his requirements of all the 3 people. So your job as a good logistician is to learn how to keep the whole thing easy. You know, try and make it as easy for yourself. Whenever you are talking, think for yourself. You are aware that there is a transporter involved, there is a terminal involved, there is a shipping line involved, there is a custom broker involved. So my question is for which agency? I am hurt, I am pained as an exporter or an importer because I have to deal with so many people at the same time and each of them have a different roadmap. Each of them have a different principle of working, each of them want something differently. So your job is always going to be that how do you keep that simple thing very easy, and it's going to get very complicated unless you are continuously in a position to break it up always, right? Then modes of transport, there are only 3 modes of transport and the easiest way to remember them is law. Land, air, water. Sometimes when you ask people, they say road, rail. No, road and rail are not modes of transport. They are means of transport. The mode of transport is only LAW, land, air and water. And whenever you combine them, it becomes an M, multimodal. Multimodal is when you have two modes of transport. And we are all continuously using two modes of transport. If somebody wants to go from here to Bombay, he goes by road from home to the airport, and from the Mangalore airport to Bombay airport you go by plane. So you've used two modes of transport. If you go from your home to Mangalore railway station and you take a train to Bombay, you've used two means of transport in the same mode. So you must understand the gap between mode of transport and mean of transport. So there are only three modes of transport as of today: land, air, water, and a combination of them is called multimodal. And the easiest way to remember is by law. That is what it is, right? So mode selection. Please don't think that sea cargo is always cheap. Please don't think that air cargo is always expensive. It is not necessary. Air can be cheaper than sea. In large number of cases we have seen that air is much cheaper than sea. Please don't assume that rail is cheaper than road. There are times when road is much cheaper than rail. You followed? So it's your job as an exporter, importer or an intermediary to understand these portions while selecting a mode. You will see convenience, you will see cost and you will see speed. You have to see three things: convenience, cost and speed. In air cargo, which we consider to be the fastest, it is an established principle that 80% of the times the cargo is on the ground and only 20% of the time it is in the air. Whereas in sea cargo, you will notice that it is on the ground only 30 or 40% and more it is in the journey. So it's for you every time. There are no standard answers to this. All these answers are directly related to quantity of cargo, origin port, destination port and what you want to do. So your job as a good forwarding person, whether in the EXIM industry or the EXIM servicing industry, is to understand convenience, cost and speed of the mode. In air, it's very simple. We use the word air freight also, and air freight is defined as carriage or transportation of goods through an aircraft. So whenever we do it through an aircraft or an air carrier, we use the air word. There are different types. There can be express, there can be freight and there can be mail. Forwarding is to send something received at one address to another address, and the process of arranging the goods to be transported, especially to another country. See, we must recognize, when I explained to you the 12 verticals of logistics, EXIM was the only one which was pure international. All the others were domestic and international. So we are the only logisticians here who work purely on international portion. But all the other 11 could have been in domestic and in international. You could have been in either of them, right? So the top Indian agency is Civil Aviation. Just as we work with customs in India, Ministry of Finance. When you are talking about the ports, you are talking DG Shipping. So similarly, when you are talking air, you are talking DG Civil Aviation. So there is a body in India under the Aviation Minister called the Director General of Civil Aviation, who decides everything in India, what is to be done. And then there is something called IATA. IATA is IATA, and IATA is basically a private initiative. It is an association of the airlines, and they have decided that we want to work, our processes will be similar. They can't cooperate or talk to each other on rates because of the anti-competition law in every country, but they are together in the processes. So what you do, if you or your company wants to become an IATA agent, you become an IATA agent, take an accreditation from IATA, and every airline will work with you. You don't need to have separate relations with every airline to work, unlike in sea cargo, where we have to have a separate relation with every shipping company. Whereas in air cargo, you once become an IATA accredited agent, and once you are an IATA accredited agent, you can work with all the airlines in the same process without having to do further documentation. The most important portion in air, there are 3-4. The first is geography. You have to remember, whether it is land, water or air, transport geography plays a very big role. And what IATA has done, IATA has divided the world into 3 areas. Area 1, Area 2, Area 3. So whenever you are doing anything in air cargo, the first question always is, which area? Are you in Area 1, Area 2 or Area 3? It's a very simple demarcation. This is the demarcation. It's a very simple demarcation that the Area 2 and Area 3 is divided somewhere near Pakistan. So from Pakistan onwards, it is Area 3. Africa, Europe is Area 2, and North South America is Area 1. So whenever we work in air cargo, it's a very simple way to understand as to what is the area in which you are working. You know, like this is North America, Central, South, Greenland, this is all that, Middle East including Iran, and Asia beginning with Pakistan, going up to Australia and the Pacific Islands. So once you understand these 3 very broadly and very clearly, you will be very good at working in air cargo. Then IATA has given 3-letter codes to every city. Every city in the world which has some relation to air cargo has been given a 3-alphabet word. So world over it remains standard, whereas in sea cargo it is not standard. In sea cargo, some of the shipping companies use BOM for Bombay, some of them use MUM for Mumbai, but in air cargo it remains standard. So there is always a 3-letter code for every city and every airport in India. So any new airport also coming up, there will be a 3-letter code. You cannot change it. So for us, Bombay remains as BOM only. There cannot be an MUM, it will always be BOM. Chennai is MAA. Even though they made Madras into Chennai, for IATA purposes it remains MAA only. So that way you have 3-letter codes over there. Then every airline must have a alphanumerical. We write 6E for Indigo, AI for Air India. We write all those if you see your plane tickets. So everywhere, every airline, first is the area codes, second is 3-letter codes for the ports, then will come 2 letters for the airline and 3 letters for their airway bills. So all of them will be like the AI 098, BA 125, LH 020, 9W 589, this way it keeps on going. So every airline will have a 3-digit numerical and a 2-digit letter attached to it. So if any time you are doing a lot of foreign travel or doing a lot of travel in India, if you want to impress the person who's checking you in and things like that, then you use these words. You don't say I'm flying Air India, you say I'm flying AI. And that's how you do it. And then they have a separate alphabet only. I haven't put it over here, but in air cargo they don't say A for apple, B for ball. They say something different only, and that is internationally. So when you talk, they will say alpha, beta, things like that for them. So like when I travel, that girl asks me every time, where are you sitting? I'll say 11 delta. And the moment I say 11 delta, she'll look at my face because there's only one passenger in the entire plane who's not using D and who's using delta. But these are very standard principles that you use over there. So then comes the document, the airway bill. In air cargo, the document of carriage, the document of transportation is called the airway bill. In sea, we use the word bill of lading. If there are more than one bill of lading, what will you say, sir? If there are two, what will you say? Huh? If I am giving you 10 bill of lading, how will you refer to bill of lading? 10. 10 in number. Where will the S come? Where will the S come? Will it come bills of lading or will it come bill of ladings? But they're very good, because that is the correct answer. It is bills of lading, airway bills. But most of the people land up saying bill of ladings, or they land up saying airways bill. So the standard document for transportation by air is an airway bill. And the biggest differentiator between an airway bill and a bill of lading. Can anybody give me an answer? What is the biggest difference between an airway bill and a bill of lading? Anybody knows? What is the biggest difference between an airway bill and a bill of lading? Exactly. Bill of lading is a negotiable document. Airway bill is a non-negotiable document. So bill of lading, whoever's name is written in the consignee column, is the owner of the goods. In an airway bill, whoever's name is written in the consignee column is not the owner of the goods. And this is a very common mistake exporters make and importers make when they shift from sea to air or air to sea. That the document of transport in sea cargo is always negotiable, and document of transport in air cargo is never negotiable. So remember this very importantly and very clearly. In air, you can have three types of air bills of lading, airway bills. One is a master airway bill or a normal airway bill. A master airway bill or a normal airway bill is always issued by the airline or its agent. A master airway bill is always issued by the airline or its agent, and the number of that airway bill will always start with the first 3 digits which are allotted to the airline. So if I am doing a British Airways airway bill, if the number is 057 and then some other digits, I have to understand that it is issued by British Airways. If it is 098, I have to understand it is issued by Air India. So any document which is issued directly by the airline or the agent of the airline is called a master airway bill or a normal airway bill. We all understand the word consolidation. I am sure everyone in this room understands consolidation. So whenever a freight forwarder is doing consolidation and is issuing his own airway bill, then it is called as a house airway bill. When a forwarder issues a bill of lading, an airway bill, it is called a house airway bill. And lastly, with so much amount of EDI and electronic happening, IATA has recently introduced what is called a neutral airway bill. A neutral airway bill is a plain document without a number written on it, and the forwarder issues it on behalf of whichever airline he wants, and he writes the number over there. So it's the same document as the master. Only thing is that master is normally pre-printed stationery, so there would be the British Airways or Lufthansa logo on it. In neutral, the logo will not be there. In all cases, all the 3 documents are non-negotiable. That you have to be very clear over there. Then these are the different types. They all look similar. A master heavy bill looks like this. There's a shipper column, there's a consignee column, there's a notify column, there are transport instructions, there are sizes, there is everything given over there. A house heavy bill looks like this and a neutral looks like this. They are identical in all respects, but they only have a difference in the way it is issued and on who is representing himself to be the carrier, right? Then these are the differences, very standard. I already mentioned them to you. What is the significance of an heavy bill? Just as I had asked what is the significance of INCOTERMS or what is the significance of something else, it's a contract of carriage between the airline and the shipper. It is a receipt by the airline, it is also a freight bill, and it is also a certificate of insurance if you ask the airline to cover an insurance for you. So an heavy bill is not, because it's not negotiable, it is not important. It is only that it is not negotiable. But it's a very important document and it covers so much over there. It's also a custom declaration. Now this is one mistake people make across the world, that bills of lading and airway bills are custom declaration documents. So you should be very careful as an exporter or as an importer or whoever is responsible for the relevant Incoterm to give proper instructions to your forwarder as to what he should write in the bill of lading or what he should write in the heavy bill. Because whatever is written over there will be considered as a declaration by Indian customs. You very often will receive requests that in India, maybe it is under chapter 07, 08 or something, but on the bill of lading you write another classification, or on the heavy bill you write another classification, because in his country the duty may be different. But the moment you do that, you are committing an offense in India and you are committing an offense in that country, because HSN is identical in all countries. Up to 6 digits it is identical. So you cannot say that in India I will use a different classification and in the other country I will use a different classification. You have to use the same one. Then it's a documentary evidence because it gives instructions. Cargo cannot speak. We are all very clear, cargo cannot speak. So the airway bill gives instructions to every person for handling, one after the other, how will you handle this cargo? Because air cargo handling is much more complex than sea cargo handling. Air cargo documentation is much more complex. So it becomes also an instruction on how you will handle the cargo. Then very simple, chargeable weight. Airlines always charge on whatever is chargeable weight. Airlines don't charge on the weight of the cargo. And what do you do? If you are in inches, you take length into breadth into height and divide by 366. If you are in centimeters, sorry, there is a typing mistake, it has to be 6000. I will correct it before giving. It has to be length into breadth into height divided by 6000, and whatever is the answer, you compare it with the actual kilos and you take whichever is higher. It goes in that way, like if you all are doing LCL, I am told Mangalore doesn't do much LCL, but when you are doing LCL also we use the word metric ton or cubic meter, whichever is higher. Whenever we are doing LCL, it's always done in that manner. So here it is done in this manner, that length into breadth into height is to be compared with the weight of the cargo, and whichever is higher you do it. This is just one or two examples given on how do you do the calculations. Then if it's a drum, because a drum is not 3-dimensional, you take the width 2 times. Whatever is the width, you take it 2 times in your calculations. Then normal airline tariff, the principle is always like this, that higher the weight, lower is the freight. So if you come to me as an airline and you say I have 500 kilos, I might say 100 rupees a kilo. And at the same time somebody else comes in and says, I am giving you 900 kilos, I may tell the person 80 rupees a kilo. And somebody comes with 100 kilos, I may say 120 rupees a kilo. Because the principle in air cargo is higher the weight, lower is the freight. So more cargo you give to the airline, the per kilo rate is less. Less cargo you give to the airline, the per kilo rate is more. That is what you must always remember. And then there is a break point. In air cargo, it's a very clear system. So you will pay a minimum, or it will go 0 to 45. Then there is one rate, up more than 100 there is another rate, more than 300 there is another rate, and more than 500 is another rate. The standard practice with all airlines. So when you are working as a forwarder, you normally don't tell the airline I have 60 kilos. You normally tell the airline I am plus 45, what will you charge me? You tell the airline I am plus 100, what will you charge me? That's how you talk, because the principle goes like this, right? Then these are, of course, I have given you rates. Then there are special rates in air given for human remains, live animals, which are a percentage addition. And it is sad, but there are freight forwarders and airlines who are waiting for dead bodies, because dead bodies give them maximum earning per shipment. Because a normal Indian dead body would be 70 kilos, but that same dead body, when it has to be transported, would be 350 kilos. Because that's how they'll keep on packing it, one case into another case, and then they've got to use a wooden box, they've got to use lead lining as per international transportation models. So that is why they have special rates for those type of cargoes, and live animals also, because they are supposed to take care of the live animal on the aircraft. Will they have to feed it? Do they have to give it an injection before the journey? Do they have to give it water in the journey? All that. So the airlines will always charge a premium for special types of cargoes. Then you have, just as you have in container rates, in air cargo also you can have container rates. A ULD is a unit load device, it's a container. So this is normally done in the mango season, freights, vegetables, fruits and all, where you can take the entire thing from them. I've given you this thing, every bill of lading and heavy bill. Is there anybody in this room who's not heard of a bill of lading or an heavy bill? So everybody has heard. Anybody in this room who has not seen an heavy bill or a bill of lading? So most of the people have seen a bill of lading. Now most interesting question. How many of you turned the bill of lading and read the conditions behind that? But that is the why. That is the why, what I was telling you all in the morning. That once in your lifetime, take a magnifying glass and read it. It is not going to take you more than 30 minutes to read it, but this is the most important portion. When I will pay you a claim, in how much time will I deliver the cargo, what is the detention I will charge you, in what circumstances I am not responsible, am I supposed to give you a notice at destination or I am not supposed to give you a notice at destination, am I supposed to do custom filing, I am not supposed to do custom filing, and most important, if I damage or lose your cargo, how much money I am going to give you. We all assume that I have given him 1 lakh of rupees of cargo and he loses it, he has to give me 1 lakh of rupees. But that is not how it works. Airline and shipping company are going to say, read the conditions of the contract, whatever I have written over there, that money only I will give you. So conditions of contract always become very important whenever we are doing these transportation. Then in air there is a concept of valuation, because their contract says I will pay you only so much rupees per kilo, and you say no, I want more money from you. So they say, yeah, I'll pay you more money, you pay me a premium. You pay me a premium. Shipping companies also do the same thing. If you are not aware, every shipping company and every airline in India will pay you whatever you want if you have paid them an additional surcharge. So what exporters and importers feel is that I might as well cover it with my insurance company and not be dependent on the airline or the shipping company, because my insurance company will be cheaper to cover the full value of the goods rather than the airline or the shipping company who will charge me a premium for doing it. So that is how it goes over here, right? Then there is always a currency conversion. In sea cargo, how do we talk? So many US dollars per kilo, per container, per cubic meter. We talk in India in dollars only. In India, we don't talk in rupees, in sea cargo. But when we go to release the bill of lading, shipping company applies an exchange rate and charges us in rupees. That is what we do in sea cargo. In air cargo, it is just the opposite. Air cargo, everything is done in Indian rupees. Everything is done in Indian rupees. When it is moving out of India, everything will be done in Indian rupees, and at destination, they will convert Indian rupees into their currency. In sea cargo, it is done at origin. In air cargo, it is done at destination. So that is why we have something called currency conversion over here. Then you have some special add-on rates where there is no airport over there, but you still insist with them that look, there is a IATA code, so you have to carry it there. Because there can be an airport like Mangalore, you all had air cargo in the middle, now you don't have air cargo. Tomorrow you might not have any air cargo, but somebody can go to an airline and say, no, I want to go to Mangalore. You have an IATA code, you carry it for me. So in that case, the airline will carry it for you, but they'll charge you a very big surcharge over there. Then you have 9 classes of dangerous goods in air. Just as we had 12 verticals in logistics, you have 9 categories of dangerous goods, and it is your job as an exporter or a forwarder to know whether your cargo is dangerous or not dangerous, right? And the classes are like this: explosives, gases, flammable liquids, flammable solids, oxidizing substances, toxic and infectious substances, radioactive material, corrosive, and miscellaneous. I am sure by the word all of you understand. A very interesting example for you is soft toys. We give even a 3-month-old child a soft toy. We put a soft toy on the bed next to a small child. But you can't export soft toys by air. Soft toys by air are highly dangerous because they fall under flammable solids for air. So you will find that there are so many cargoes which are dangerous by sea but not dangerous by air, which are dangerous by air but not dangerous by sea, and you will also find so many commodities which are dangerous by road. They are not dangerous by air or by sea, but they are dangerous by road. And similarly, there are so many commodities which are not dangerous by road or air or sea, but they are dangerous by rail. Indian Railways will never carry them. So each mode of transport has its own way of issuing a document, has its own way of classifying the goods, has its own way of doing the rating of or the rates that have to be charged, their own way of settling a claim. So whenever you want to be a freight forwarder who's going to work in more than one mode of transport, you have to be very clear if you want to keep it easy. Your first question has to be air cargo or sea cargo. Okay, air cargo. Hazardous or non-hazardous? Non-hazardous. What weight point? And then everything else will follow. So what I have tried to do over here is just introduce you to the main factors that you need to take into account. Many of you living in Mangalore might feel, what is the need of all of this? Sir could have taught us something else. But I can assure you that as you will work in this industry, as you will work further, you will at some point in time or the other be introduced to all of this. Then packing also in air cargo, there are specific regulations, and for that matter in sea cargo also. There are very strict regulations in sea cargo. You can't just pack your export in whatever fashion and give it to them. You can't do that. Then is labeling. Cargo cannot talk. Because cargo cannot talk, you have to mark and label it that anybody can pick it up and he or she will know what is to be done with that cargo, right? So marking and labeling. Then comes the biggest job of a freight forwarder, both in sea cargo and in air cargo, and that is called making a shipment ready for carriage. You are making it ready. See, no carrier does anything besides giving you a container or a space on their ship, and besides doing stuffing, destuffing and loading, unloading, they don't do anything. It is all the job of the forwarder. Similarly, in air cargo, airlines don't do anything. It is the job of the forwarder to do everything, right? So the care is marking, labeling, documentation and packing that you need to do over here. There is a link also I have given you on how to prepare an airway bill. Sea cargo, same thing, quantities by sea. Here also the principles you need to know is transport geography again. Transport geography is an integral part of a forwarder's life. And for those of you who are new exporters or those of you who are new forwarders, only go back to your geography book of the 7th and the 8th standard in school, relearn all of that, you will be able to understand transport geography very well. Whatever geography was taught to you in the 7th, 8th and 9th standard in school is international transport geography. What did we learn? These countries coffee is growing. These regions cashew is growing. These regions there is water shortage. That is what we learned, and that is exactly international business for you. And that is exactly how transport geography works. So here geography becomes very important. You have to know continents of the world, you have to know oceans of the world, you have to know the political issue, you have to understand the concept of countries at war. India is not at war with Pakistan, but Israel is at war with those with Hamas, whichever country, I forget, Palestine. Uzbekistan is at war with Russia. Other countries are not at war with each other. So when transportation happens, if you get into a zone where countries are at war, the regulations change, and when you are transporting through other regions, whether the countries are comfortable with each other or not comfortable with each other, international protocol is very different. Then in sea cargo and of course air cargo, time zones and international date line is very important. For those of us who have cousins in Australia or America, we know that they are 7 hours ahead of us or they are 8 hours behind us. We understand all of that. In the Middle East, he is 2 or 3 hours behind us. He is in Singapore, he is 2 or 3 hours before us. We all understand all of that, time zones. So time zones is a very detailed study when you want to become a good freight forwarder, and most importantly the international date line. When does the date change? At what point of time does the date change? United Airlines had a fantastic campaign that I will pick up your cargo in India on the 5th of January and I will deliver it in America on the 5th of January. They just played with the time zones and the date lines. People who did not understand it were very enamored with the whole product. that, oh, I'm giving it on the 5th, it is reaching on the 5th. So you have to understand these issues in transport geography, irrespective of whether you are a road, rail, air or sea transporter or a forwarder. India does business with Pakistan, with Nepal, with China, with Bhutan, with Bangladesh and with Myanmar by land. India is doing business with all these countries by land, and all these countries are doing business with India. There is also a very interesting experiment that has been done, and the protocols have been signed, which means you can go from Mangalore to Singapore in your own car. You can drive through Bangladesh, you can drive through Myanmar, you can enter into Malaysia, you can drive through Malaysia and go into Singapore in your own car. So that, how will you understand all of that? Is if you understand transport geography and the political portions. So use of atlas, that is why you see most of the forwarding companies, shipping companies, foreign airlines, foreign shipping companies will always have a map in their offices. So, and when you come to our center to learn, we make you stand in front of the atlas for half an hour, and then we ask you which country is on your right, which country is on your left, which country is above India, which country is below India. Once you can do that, you will find that being a freight forwarder is very simple. And atlas is a book we give every new employee in our company on the first day, that please keep this on your table. Every day you have to look at it. So that is one. Then the timeline, then the major shipping routes and the seaports of the world. So this is what you should be knowing. This is how the time zones go. So then comes, who is a shipping line? Who is an NVOCC? These are two issues where people land up making mistake. That who is a shipping line? Everybody wants to say I am a shipping agent, but you are a shipping agent of whom? Everybody, we don't appreciate the gap between a shipping line and an NVOCC. A shipping line is somebody who has his own carriage, who have their own ships which are plying, and a container is legally part of a ship. A container is legally part of a ship, and that is why when you shift a container from one ship to another ship, there have been court decisions to say that this is not transshipment because the container is part of a ship. And NVOCC is a person who does not own a vessel but owns only containers. A shipping line is somebody who owns the ship and the containers, and an NVOCC is somebody who doesn't have a vessel but who owns containers. So whenever you are dealing, Mangalore is not that high on containerized business as yet, but it's only a question of time before which you all will be very high on container business also. At that time you will have to know the difference between dealing with a shipping line and dealing with an NVOCC. They are both very good, but both have minor legal differences, both have minor claim differences, both have minor liability differences in other areas. So this is what it is for the NVOCC. These of course are your major shipping lines. Break bulk, what does a shipping line do? I don't need to tell people right here. Containerization. What is a container? I'm sure everyone in this room understands what is a container. It's a very recent phenomenon. Okay? It's not even 75, 78 years, I mean 65, 68 years old issue only. The container in anywhere in the world. Right? So that, and what is container? We have 2-3 types. We have 20 foot, 40 foot, then in 20 foot, 40 foot we have open top, side open, flat rack, over dimension, all of that. And then in transportation there are two models. One is a full container and one is less than container. So less than container is what we called LCL, full container is what we called FCL. And an FCL technically has cargo belonging to one person, An LCL container technically has cargoes belonging to multiple people. That is how it goes. So then LCL, then container language, you have CY, CFS. Now CY, CFS and all become very important when they are linked to Incoterms. Very often when you see a bill of lading also, especially if you are working in containers, some of the bill of ladings will say port to port, some bill of lading will say CY, CY, some bill of lading will say CFS, CY, some bill of lading will say CFS, CFS. Now as a good forwarder, you should know how to read that portion, because unless you know how to read that portion, your importer may land up paying more money than he is supposed to pay. His bill of entry value may not change. His bill of entry value may still remain CIF only. It may not change so much. But the actual amount of payment that he is doing to the shipping line may change. And recently we had a case in India where one of the shipping lines refunded nearly 9 crores of rupees because some regulator found out that the bills of lading were denoting something and the charges were being done on something else. And somebody went to Director General of Shipping and made a complaint that, sir, his document showed this transportation and he has billed me for these amounts. So please get me a refund, and DG Shipping had to direct them to refund the money. So these small terminologies which appear are very important for you to understand where your responsibility gets over as where his responsibility as a carrier gets over, and when your responsibility as an importer or his agent starts, right? These are the many different types of containers which are available to you. So you have simple standard dimensions, standard containers. I've just put this here so that it can be as a ready reckoner with all of you once this is shared with all of you. Then these are your liquid containers. One interesting thing for all of you to know is, those of you who follow fashion might be aware that Bangladesh is the biggest exporter of ready-made garments in the world. They manufacture nearly 70% of the jeans. Even some of the jeans that we all are wearing in India might have come from Bangladesh and we don't know about it. But what innovation Bangladesh and the port of Antwerp did about 14 years back is what I want to share with you. Bangladesh used to manufacture their ready-made garments. They used to iron them. They used to tag them, label them, put it in a plastic bag, pack it in a carton, and used to put the cartons in the container. Now some intelligent person went and said, let's try out an experiment. So what they did is they manufactured the garments and they just put the garments in the container and kept on pushing them inside and using a vacuum, with the result that whatever garments they were putting in a normal 40-footer, they put 5 times that cargo into the same 40-footer. They put 5 times that cargo into it, and they kept on pushing it and vacuuming the container from inside. And in Antwerp, the forwarding agent took the responsibility of washing them, ironing them, folding them, labeling them, packing them, and putting it onto the shelves of the different shops across Europe, and they still found it cheaper. So the container gives you a lot of opportunities to be innovative, to keep on thinking of doing different things. For India exports a lot of expensive garments. Okay, India exports a lot of expensive garments, and you'll be surprised that India exports expensive garments to countries like Japan also. Those garments from India, as compared to the garments which go from Bangladesh, go on hangers. So the Indian garments are put in hangers inside a container. So obviously the number of pieces per container is way below the number of pieces which Bangladesh exports. But then India is manufacturing high-end clothes. High-end clothes cannot take a vacuum or a pressure. they will get spoiled or the buttons will break. Here they don't mind because these are cheap garments. These are all garments in which are less than 10,000 rupees a piece, whereas what India exports is more than 2 lakhs of rupees a piece. So when you are talking the container, you have to be able to link it with the type of cargo that you are going to handle. So you have to have a load plan, CBM calculations and a load sheet. Bill of lading negotiable, very clear. This is the biggest demarcation between a bill of lading and an airway bill. Bill of lading denotes ownership. So an airway bill can never be made to the order of. You all have seen bills of lading to the order of the bank or to the order of the shipper or to the order of something. Airway bill can never be made to the order because it's not negotiable. Whereas a bill of lading, because it is negotiable, can always be made to the order of somebody or the other, right? Then this is what a bill of lading must have. Very important flag of nationality, which is not there in air cargo. In air cargo, there is no nationality of the carrier, but in sea cargo, there is a nationality. And a bill of lading looks the same, whether it is a master airway bill of lading, it's a house bill of lading. We still don't have the concept of neutral bill of lading over there. Then we must understand the gap between all of this. What is RFS? You can get RFS after out of charge if you have good relations with the shipping company. You can always get a received for shipment bill of lading, where the shipping company says, exporter has finished his work, now I am holding the cargo and I am going to carry it. In most cases, we take a bill of lading from the shipping line after SOB, after shipped on board. But before shipped on board also, if the shipping line wants, they can always issue you a bill of lading which is called a received for shipment bill of lading. Forwarders can also issue bills of lading which are called received for shipment bills of lading. Then these are the normal documents you require to prepare a bill of lading. It's not just a shipping bill. Very often I see across the country, people tell me, sir, I prepare the bill of lading basis the shipping bill submitted to me. Right? You can land up making a very big mistake if you are going to do only on that. And then comes lastly the multimodal. Here I only want to introduce you because multimodal is going to take a long time to come to this part of the country in the true sense. Most important, please don't rely on what Google says. Because in shipping I have seen that more than 50% of the answers are wrong. You have something called Quora or Cura or something like that. 90% of the answers are wrong over there. So please don't rely on Google. Please go one step ahead. Use the search engine to find an official website or use the search engine to find an official book on whatever you want to study and rely on that. Please don't rely on Google, and now you're going to have Chat GPT and you're going to have AI and you're going to have everything, so you will have to be very careful. You have to remember, AI or Chat GPT don't have their own intelligence. They just pick up from elsewhere, they put it in a format and they give it to you. So if the input is not 100% correct, the output which comes to you may also not be 100% correct. You have to remember that, right? What is multimodal? It is where more than at least 2 modes are used, but a single document is issued. The most important portion is a single document for 2 modes of transport. It may be performed by different people. It may be performed by people who have nothing to do with the document that has been issued to you. But if it is a single document covering more than 2 modes of transport, then it becomes a multimodal movement or a multimodal transport. And in India, we have something called the MMTG Act. Just as in India we have the Indian Customs Act of 1962, or you have the foreign trade policy coming out periodically for you, which you have to follow. Multimodal is covered by the MMTG Act in India. And what does it say? From any place in India to a place outside India. So in India, the Multimodal Transport of Goods Act covers only export. It doesn't cover import. It says it must start in India and it must go out of India. And then it says that it has to be water. One mode has to be water. So air cargo in India is not covered as multimodal, which is wrong, and this act is being amended. There have been lot of discussions, lot of papers submitted, but as it stands in India today, multimodal is only sea cargo. Sea and one mode of transport, but not air, right? So that is what it is. So combination of at least two modes to move your cargo from a place in India to another, and in the present it is only sea. Here also you have the same thing. You have to consider cost, time, reliability, security and transportation capability, because the person who is issuing you the multimodal transport document may be a person who doesn't own anything. He doesn't own the ship, he doesn't own the truck, he doesn't own the plane, he doesn't own anything. So this is what I wanted to share with you all. If there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take them. I still have another 4-5 minutes. Any questions on anything? Nobody? No, yes, sir. Somebody, mic? What are the documents? Sir, what was your question?
Sir, what are the documents required to berth the vessel at the port? What are the documents required to the port?
No, understand. What's the question?
What are the documents required to the port to berth the vessel?
Your question is, what are the documents required to bring in a vessel into the port?
Yes, sir.
Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And why?
Yeah, one by one. Interesting that you are asking me why. When you are bringing in a vessel into a port, where are you actually bringing it in? You are actually bringing it into a country. You are not bringing it into a port. You are first bringing it into a country. And in a country, your border in India is controlled by Indian customs. So the first document would be where you file an IGM with the shipping company, with Indian customs. And Indian customs has to give you what is known as an IGM number and date. Once Indian customs gives you an IGM number and date, then whichever port or terminal you want to go to, he will give you permission to berth. It all happens simultaneously, but it happens one after the other legally. You want to ask another question? Okay, never mind. So so you will have documentation with two sets of people. One will be Indian customs, where the carrier will file the manifest, and the other will be specific documents that a particular port or terminal has taken out for giving you permission to come into that port. So you have to find out from both of them what do they want. Indian customs is a manifest. If you go to Mundra customs, they have a very simple online filing system where the carriers file it online, give all the details and say what is the expected tonnage to be unloaded, what is the expected tonnage to be taken up, and then the port on their own give them the date and the time and the terminal where they can come in. It's an online system over there. I don't know what Mangalore does. So two sets of people with whom you have to take permission and work at the same time. Customs and the terminal or the port, wherever you want to go. Same thing in liquid cargo also. Don't make a mistake. Same thing in liquid cargo, same thing in bulk cargo, same thing in every type of cargo. The principles remain the same and they all happen simultaneously. Anybody else? Mr. Prabhu, I am impressed with Mangalore. Huh? Very few questions. Very few questions. Okay, so if there are no questions, yes sir. Don't feel shy. What will happen? You might make a mistake.
General question, the busiest routes in the world, and what are the major? These are two different questions. One is
busiest container.
Flow of containers in the world, like transatlantic.
Okay, it's like this. India does around 6.5 million containers every year. India as a country does around 6.5 million containers throughput. Whereas ports like Shanghai and Singapore and all do more than 20 million in a year. Okay, just to give you a comparison that we are way behind. Mr. Modi may go around the whole world and the whole world may be looking at India, but in terms of physical movement, we are still way behind the rest of many of the countries. You go to an Antwerp or a Rotterdam or an Hamburg, they are all at 6 to 10 million containers a year. The biggest and the most complicated ones are Shanghai and USA. I forget the name of the port just now. They are the busiest ones. Okay, so that was your first question. What was your second question?
Which zone to in the country, sir? In which zone of the world, from where to which location the movement of volume is more?
No, I don't think there is any data calculated that way. What you are trying to ask me is that is China, USA the biggest trade lane or is something like that? I don't think anybody ever calculates in that manner. They will always say that these are the different trade lanes and these are the movements, but I don't think anybody is really monitoring which two regions are doing the most work with each other. At least I have not seen any such data. Yeah? Anyone else? Any questions? Yes, sir. Sir, here.
Sir, your insights on the future of custom brokers, sir, looking into the fact that, it's simplified, various schemes like AEO, RMS, what is our future?
My God. It's like this, that in 2013, the World Trade Organization signed an agreement. And India is a signatory to that agreement. And that agreement is called the Trade Facilitation Agreement. The implementing agency for the Trade Facilitation Agreement is WCO, World Custom Organization. One of the things it said was that usage of custom brokers will not be mandatory anywhere in the world. In India, usage of a custom broker was never compulsory. Even in 1962, it was not compulsory. So India never had a problem with this change. But there were large number of Latin American countries, Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay and all those places, where it was compulsory to use a customs broker. So those countries had a problem. India did not have a problem. Official statistics, in India today, more than 98% of the clearances are done by custom brokers. And in the last 20 years or maybe the last 5 years, with the increase in facilitation, there has been no drop in the number of clearances done by custom brokers. The balance 2% is with whom? The balance 2% is with the Navy and larger companies like Tatas and Reliances and Godrejes and all of them. But the 98+ percentage is still done by the custom brokers. what is going to happen? Will the custom broker survive? I have no doubt that we will survive. Will we continue working at 500 rupees and 1000 rupees and 2000 rupees? No. We will start working at 10,000 rupees and 20,000 rupees. Will we have offices with 100 people staff? No. We will have offices with 30 and 40 people staff. What we will see is that our staff will have to be more capable to be able to work in the agency. What are you doing today? When I started my career, if I cleared an import consignment, and Pujari sir is here, if I cleared an import consignment in Bombay docks, in less than 21 days, I was a good custom broker. And if I did an export cycle, in less than 14 days, I was a good custom broker. Today, if I do export cycle, especially containers and air cargo, in more than 14 hours, I am a bad custom broker. And on import cycle, I have to finish it in 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, I am a bad custom broker. But while doing this, work from my table shifted to my staff's table. So I will now be as good a custom broker as the staff in my office who is doing online filing. If he makes a mistake, my shipment is gone for a toss. If he does it correctly, my shipment will smoothly sail through customs. So we will remain. It's going to get more complex. It's going to get more complicated. We have presently only about 29 active PGAs, but the final design is more than 90 PGAs. And all of them will come on single window. So it's going to get more complex. We are going to become more expensive than we are. We are not going to be afraid of the customs officers as we are afraid now, because he will not have so much liberty to harass us. But on the other side, we will not be able to tolerate inefficiency or less knowledge amongst our team members. And that is the only reason why I am taking out time and coming here. That people must understand that custom brokerage is not going to be a job of, please sir, you want 100 rupees, I'll give you 105 rupees, but please do it. It is not going to remain that job. And we have to appreciate that, and we have to understand that. While Pujari sir brought out the problem of faceless, the faceless was introduced only for that. If I don't meet a custom officer, how is he going to harass me? If I meet him, he is going to tell me something. So we are unfortunately at this point in time, in that period when we are shifting and they are resisting. Custom, the sad thing in India is that custom officers are resisting because they feel that my side income will go away. Sad story is custom brokers are resisting because their side income will also go away. Let us face it, this is the reality of the world. So everyone is worried. So to ensure that our side incomes go away, don't go away, we will start charging more. And you will be surprised to know that at World Custom Organization, they have constituted a committee of 80 people, because corruption in customs is universal, is there in every country. There is no country in the world where corruption in customs is not there. What India is trying to do is what the other developed countries have done, is to remove corruption from the lower level and take it to the higher level. So your 500,000 rupee corruptions will go away, and that will get converted into 50,000 rupee 1 lakh corruption. But interesting portion is that 99% of the clearances will just go smoothly. It might take still another 4 or 5 years for it to happen, but it will definitely happen. Yeah, anybody else? No? Then I think lunch is waiting for you all. So What are we giving them? 1 hour, half an hour, 1 hour, 45 minutes?
Before we break for lunch for 45 minutes, we have a very short presentation by a sponsor from Federal Bank. So may I request the representative from the Federal Bank to kindly take over the stage. And in the meantime, may I request the owner of the vehicle 0259, Mahindra, you may have to shift your vehicle, Mahindra 0259.
One request to all of you. I think before Federal Bank, right? Before Federal Bank starts, I think we need to give them a big round of applause. Because had they not sponsored part of the event, we would have all not been over here. So we must respect the fact that they have taken the effort to sponsor something for all of us. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Padmana Begde, Associate Vice President. I am heading Mangalore main branch, Federal Bank. Along with me, Vikram is there, Sheetal is there. They are dealing with the forex, and I will tell you about brief about Federal Bank. Federal Bank is one of the leading private sector bank, having more than 4 lakh crore business and having more than 1,400 branches spread across the country. And we also have the representative office in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and we are listed in BSE, NSE, and also London Stock Exchanges. And as per the Federal Bank initiative for ESG, even World Bank arm, IFC, has invested in our bank, which is around 9%, around 960 crore they invested. It is one of the first in India. They have invested that much huge money. So when come to our district, Dakshina Kannada district, we have good presence here, having more than 13 branches. And in Mangalore city, we have 2 branches. And our main branch is in near PVS, and we are designated Forex branch actually. We have a designated person for the Forex related transaction. And Vikram will have a brief presentation about our product. So we are happy to associate with the customers for any forex related queries. I welcome, and if anybody having any query, you can leave your card also. We will happy to meet personally, and any for the bank related business. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Myself Vikram Sharma. Warm welcome to Samir sir and Darshan sir. Warm welcome to all the members of CCI. So we started our journey in 1931. We have almost completed 92 years in banking industry. So we'll be hitting our century very soon. And as you can see that we have like more than 1400 branches at pan-India level. Initially, Federal Bank was known as a regional bank, but now we are expanding our wings and we are presented in most part of the India. And still we are expanding at a greater space. So we have a separate team for all the segment of the business. Like one is wholesale banking, one is corporate banking, one is retail banking, agriculture, government, and retail banking. So whenever we are lending more than above 50 CR, the corporate banking comes into picture. Wherever we are lending up 10 to 15 crore, it will be a commercial banking. So again, like for corporate customers, we have a specialized team called Corporate Client Service Center, who specifically take care of all the trade transactions, whatever query they have, they resolve their client's query on the spot, immediate basis. Or if they are not able to do it, they immediately get in touch with the regulators and respond to their queries. The next slide. Some of the best features for our retail liability customer is that they get very good pricing compared to our competitors existing in the market. Most of their charges are nil, if you can see on the screen. The same thing is available on our portal as well. So you can see, like if you are maintaining a balance of 25,000 to 5 lakh, so you get lot of benefits here. As an importer and exporter customer, these charges do matters a lot. Yeah, the next slide. So there are few trade transactions which we handle. There will be LC, bank guarantee, bias credit, since we have a presence in Gift City as well for our local importers. Instead of going abroad seeking fund, taking bias credit, we arrange fund from Gift City as well. And in structured transaction, we do factoring, merchanting trade, pre-acceptance for LC bill discounting. So the product which we have is at best pricing we offer to our customers. So like as I mentioned initially, it was known as one of the regional bank. Now we have came a long way with all the trade products as well. So this trade products was introduced almost 5 years back.
Thank you so much, Vikram. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity and thank KCCI for having us and witnessing such honorable dignitaries. Since we have this export-import clients present here, I would like to highlight some of the treasury products that is offered by Federal Bank. As you can see, I believe most of us would be, as we are importers and exporters, we would be aware of what are forward contracts. So just to give a gist, forward contract is basically when an importer or exporter, they know they have a particular business cycle. So if I am an exporter and I am, shipping my goods today, and I know that my my inward is due in a matter of 3 months. So I will not leave my forex exposure open because I have a risk of, the fluctuation in the forex foreign currency. So what I can do is I can come and enter a forward contract with Federal Bank, and here what we do is we come and lock in a price. So on the due date, if the due date supposedly it's 31st of January, so you come on that date and you do not leave your exposure open, and you can take advantage of the hedging that you have taken care. Now coming to the second one, that is options. So options, basically it's a contract wherein the buyer of the option gets the right but not obligation to buy an underlying asset which is designed for hedging and risk management. So basically with the help of an option, you can mitigate your downside risk and also take the advantage of the unlimited profit given your view on that particular currency. Lastly, we have the swap. Just to give you a little bit idea on what is a swap transaction. So as the name suggests, it's a exchange. Basically, it's a complex derivative wherein the term suggests it's a swap, wherein the exchange of the cash flows that take place between two parties, given you and Federal Bank. So also I would take this opportunity and also like to tell you all that we have a treasury department present in the Mumbai BKC office, which are well equipped to handle such complex transaction, and they are very well versed to assist all the clients right from the beginning of the transaction to the end. And I think so on this note, I think let us make your business journey from good to great. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that Federal Bank, so it has been awarded and also it's recognized as one of India's first bank to receive the India's Best Workplace for Women 2023. So I would request you all to be, you're welcome to be part of this esteemed institution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Federal Bank, for being one of our title sponsors, and we look forward to have your support in future events as well. Now we'll break for the lunch. Lunch is served on my left side. We have half an hour lunch break, so we'll be back at the hall around 2:30. Thank you so much.